As you said, I'm Geoff Klass. I'm CEO of Sense Diagnostics, and we have technology that detects, measures, and monitors neurological disorder of the brain, and we do so in real time, non-invasively. How does this work? There we go. Our focus initially is on stroke and traumatic brain injury. Why it's a huge problem worldwide, and we're addressing the worldwide problems I'll get into. But the need is there is no objective way to triage these patients in the field, nor to ongoing monitor them while they're in the hospital. This causes extensive delays to treatment, which leads to permanent disability and even death. So our solution for stroke and traumatic brain injury is a non-invasive scanner that can assess in the field and then monitor them while they're in the neuro ICU. We are developing 3 devices. We are using the exact same technology in all of these devices. It's just formed to fit function. So the first one on the top left-hand corner is going to be used in the hospital for those patients which are susceptible to an expanding brain bleed. The one below that will be used by EMS personnel. This folds up into about 12 cubic inches, so it fits into an ambulance or to an EMT's bag. And this device will be able to detect stroke by subtype, which is extremely important, and also bleeding from a traumatic brain injury. And then the one on the right, we are developing with the military. This will be used in the field for those warfighters that have suffered a brain injury. It will detect whether they have bleeding present and if it's expanding, and it will then monitor their condition as they get evac from the field into the field hospital, so their data continues to go along with them. Very simply how we work, we use radio frequency. We pass low voltage radio frequency through the brain. Normal brain tissue gives off one certain signal. Ischemic tissue, where there is no blood, gives off a different signal. And then bleeding from a hemorrhage gives off a third signal. Our algorithms then calculate the differences between the signal changes, and that's how we're able to detect exactly what's going on inside the patient's brain. Now, here's some of the new stuff from last year when I presented. All of this happens in 2.5 seconds. That's all it takes for us to detect what's going on. We've detected ischemic tissue in humans as small as 3 ml. We've detected bleeds as small as 1 ml. And we collect 360 data points in this 2.5 seconds of the entire cranial vault, all the way down through into the brainstem. Now, more importantly, or just as importantly on the right-hand side, is that we are able to detect all 3 stroke subtypes. This is the real differentiator between others that are out there in this market and are trying to enter the market, and then also bleeding from traumatic brain injuries. So where we sit today with the in-hospital monitoring device, we have gone through our first in-human trials. We were completely perfect in that, not a guarantee for the future, but we are now moving into our pivotal trial. It has started here in the US. It will also be run in Canada and India, and we hope to finish this up by the end of the year or in the first quarter. COVID's obviously not helping. The other device which can differentiate between all 3 stroke subtypes is in prototyping now, and that device will go to pivotal trial at the end of this year. So, competitive overview. All our competition is trying to develop a device to be used in the field. We're the only company that's going to use a device both in the field and in the hospital. We can see all 3 stroke subtypes, bleeding from a traumatic brain injury. We're able to handle patient movement. We can filter that out. And then accuracy is, as we showed earlier, extremely good, and our price point is very effective to meet the market demand. Where we sit with our pivotal trial, as I said, we launched this in January. It's a 250 to 400 patient trial. It will be run in about 8 sites in the US. It'll be 4 sites up in Canada, and then 6 sites in India. It will be run to FDA and India regulatory standards, so we will apply for approval in both countries at the same time. So when we enter the US hospital market, we will first start at those sites where we had our trial, and then the NIH-centered stroke centers, and then we move on to the comprehensive stroke centers, trauma centers. And this leads us into the field market because the CMO of the ER department at the hospital is typically the CMO for the ambulance company. So that's a perfect lead into ambulances, but we don't stop at ambulances. We move into all emergent care facilities, and then retirement facilities, nursing homes, where a lot of this stuff is present, and then we move into schools and into sports. India, as I mentioned, we're going to have a big clinical trial presence there, but stroke is their second leading cause of death. Traumatic brain injury, 500 people a year die of 500,000 a year die of a traumatic brain injury. We already have a manufacturing and commercial distribution partner set up in the country, so the minute we're approved, we'll hit the market. Canada as well, as I said, they're a good research site for our clinical trials, but they also have very strong RF engineering capabilities up in the Montreal area. And we will be working up there for future applications of our technology, which I'll talk about in a minute. In the military, traumatic brain injury is the signature wound in the military today. We're finalizing our contract with the US government to develop this device for them. We should be able to announce that in about 4 weeks. But also this leads us into NATO. So we have meetings already set up with NATO. Those will probably happen in the third, fourth quarter of this year. And so we will supply not only the US, but NATO, and we do have connections into the India military as well. I won't spend any time on this partner page except for one. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, Vituity is a strategic collaboration partner for us that we are announcing today. Vituity is the largest private practice physician group in the country. They're going to work with us on commercial development, research, and help us move our product as we go off into market. So we're really excited about the Vituity relationship. Also, just another thing that came out in the first quarter, we've been making a lot of presentations up in Europe, and we've been named in the top 5 neurological device startups in the world by an investor research group out of Australia. So we're really proud to have had that. We do see an 8 to 10x industry return when we do exit, and we are in discussions already with a lot of those medical device companies and EMS companies that would be primed to buy us. So why invest? I think you understand the great medical need that we have with stroke and traumatic brain injury. A quick one on multiple applications. We have fired up our R&D capability or capacity now, but the next product we will be launching will be for oncology. After that, sudden cardiac arrest as we move into all other neurological disorders. So thank you for your time. If you want to speak further, I'll be in the room after.